What's going on, YouTube? So a lot of you guys have asked me what it's like driving the Corvette. How do I feel about it? How does it compare to the Mustang GT? How are the new Bilstein shocks riding? Basically, there's been a lot of questions, and I figured we'd just take this opportunity to address those, and hopefully we can answer at least the majority of your questions for you. So I've been driving this, daily driving, myself and my fiance for about 3 weeks now. We bought it 7.5 and it's now 7.22. The RX-8 has just been sitting in the garage. We haven't even started it. I need to do that today. The Prius, we actually just took it out for the first time last night. It's been sitting here also not getting used. So let's talk about how the Corvette, the C6 Corvette, compares to the 2017 Mustang GT. Obviously, there's a big age difference, right? This is an 09. My Mustang GT was a 17. This has 68 or 69,000 miles. The Mustang GT had 3 miles when I bought it, and 5,000 miles when I traded it in. So for starters, somebody commented earlier today, and that's kind of where this video came from, and they said a Mustang GT is for, you know, you can go get groceries in it, you can hit the drive-through in it, and those kinds of things. And a a Corvette is great for picking pennies up off the pavement. And when I read that comment, I was like, I got to do a video about this, because that's absolutely how it is. In the Mustang GT, that car had, like, I think 430 horsepower. This one has 436 or 438 horsepower. So the horsepower is pretty much on par. But I could say this, you feel the power in this car, or maybe it's the torque. The torque in this car is just, it's insane. So when you compare the Corvette to the Mustang GT, even though the GT's newer technology, all the latest, this car, wow, you really feel the power so much more than I ever felt in my GT. And keep in mind, I've had 2 of the Coyote GTs, okay? I had the 15 GT Performance Pack, and I had the 17 GT, which was an automatic. The Performance Pack obviously had a different gear ratio in the back, stiffer suspension, Brembo brake packages, staggered 19s in the back, and I believe 18s in the front, similar to the Corvette here. That car was a blast to drive, 6-speed manual, but I'm still saying this Corvette, the power, you just feel the power so much more than I ever felt in either of the Mustangs. And the Mustangs, yeah, they were great for, you know, they had a trunk you could put groceries in. This thing doesn't have much of a trunk at all. It's got a hatch, and there's not a whole lot of room in it. The Mustang GT also sat higher off the ground by a long shot. It was much easier to get in, much easier to get out. When you go to a drive-through window, which we have noticed repeatedly in this, like in this car, you've got to like look up and reach. It's like you're reaching for the stars, man. In the Mustang, you know, there was a little bit of an upward gap there, but an upward angle that you needed, but not bad. Like, it was almost flush with the window. Not bad at all. This car, when you go to sit in it, you basically just kind of fall in. Now, I have neck and back injuries from things in the past, and that probably makes it a little more difficult for me than it would your average Joe. But my fiance agrees with me. This car is a lot more difficult to get in and out of than the Mustang. The Mustang, you just kind of sit down in it and you're good. This car, you kind of just fall into it. Then when it's time to get out, well, for me anyway, I grab the steering wheel, and I know I shouldn't do that, but, you know, I kind of use the steering wheel as leverage to pull myself out of the thing. The car, literally, when you get in your seat, it feels like you are just sitting inches above the pavement. And the reason is because you literally are. This is a difficult car to drive as a daily driver. It rides rough, okay? And I did replace the shocks. I want to talk about that. A lot of people saying, how did the shocks work? Well, I didn't want to do a review on the shocks because I just got them done in that last video. Now that we've been driving around on them for a little while, I can say with 100% certainty and honesty that I don't feel any difference, and my fiance doesn't either. We feel no difference in the way the car handles or rides with the Bilstein shocks, the B6s, versus the factory shocks that had 69,000 miles. Now, am I upset that I spent $444? No, not at all, because I still feel like the Bilstein B6s were the best shock for this car, just flat out. And it never hurts to put brand new shocks on a car. Like, you can't go wrong putting new shocks on a car. But the ones we took off of it still had so much tension. I mean, those shocks were in excellent condition. So once I started taking it all apart, I realized pretty quickly I probably wasn't going to have a noticeable difference between the shock absorbers. Now, again, that's not to say anything negative about Bilstein. It's just the way it is. You know, the factory shocks were that good. Now, as far as you know, 0 to 60 times between this and the Mustang GT. Well, guess what? What's interesting to me is that this car is still faster than the Mustang GT 0 to 60. This car finished a quarter mile faster than the Mustang GT. And I understand, you know, it's kind of like apples to oranges, right? You know, the Mustang GT is not in the same class as a Corvette, but at the same time, I feel like it is kind of apples to apples, because you're talking about technology here that's pushing 10 years old versus the Mustang GT, which just recently got the redesign for 2018, got a bump in horsepower by a little bit, and, you know, has that amazing, and I'm not going to say anything negative about the Coyote 5.0, man. That engine, when you're talking about 5 liters of displacement and that thing pushes that kind of horsepower, that is an amazing car. Smooth, fun, amazing ride. But this, I'm trying to think of a fair way of comparing the two. I would say that the Mustang GT it's a very smooth, very smooth. The gear shifts, I mean, obviously in a manual, it's a lot rougher. But in the automatic, the gear shifts are very smooth, it's precise, the horsepower feels nice and smooth throughout the RPM range. This car right here, no. This car is the equivalent of, you know, from riding in a car with nice, comfortable suspension to jumping into maybe a tractor or maybe a Model T. Like, this car is rough, it's aggressive. The shifts, although they are precise and they're on point every time, obviously, man, it's like when you smash the gas in this thing, it really puts you in your seat. So much different than the Mustang. The Mustang was so much smoother. Don't get me wrong, great power, but it was so much more refined, it seemed. This is just like pure fucking aggression, man. This is like, I'm gonna cut your fucking head off and feed it to your mom for supper type shit. Forgive me, I'm sorry, but it's like this car, even with a 10-year gap and 10 years worth of technology, you know, ahead of it in the Mustang, I would choose this car every time over that Mustang. This one is just so much more fun to drive. The steering, the road, sitting so low to the ground, that torque is to die for. But again, I'm not saying I hate the Mustang. I'm not saying anything negative about the Mustang or the Coyote. I loved that car. My fiance loved that car. We both really loved and really enjoyed both of those Mustangs. But this car, all I can say is this car is just so much more fun. So much more fun. But now with that being said, okay, I would prefer this over the Mustang any day of the week. The Prius. We finally drove the Prius yesterday. It's been sitting also because we've been just driving the hell out of this car. The Prius, you know, we finally put this car down, let it sleep for a little bit, and we decided we're going to take the Prius around. Oh my God. The soft leather seats that you can just fall into and just kind of fall right out of. Like, there's no, it's so comfortable. The suspension. I feel like we went from a Model T to a Cadillac, you know, going from the Corvette to the Prius. You know, we have actually driven the Prius all day today. We thought about taking the Corvette out today and said, no, we're actually going to take the Prius out today. Such a smooth, quiet, comfortable ride. Spectacular gas mileage. We're still pushing about 46 miles a gallon out of this. Whereas this thing is lucky to get 20 miles a gallon, and I find myself regularly filling it up at the gas station. And it costing me $50 to $60 because I only put 91 octane and I only use top tier gasoline for it. So this car comes with a premium. You know, it really does. When you buy a car that's so low to the ground, a real performance car, you know, I found out when I went to get the alignment done, not anybody can do the alignment. I bounced around from Hibdons to Hibdons to Hibdons, from Firestone to Firestone to Firestone, and everybody told me that, even tire shops, they all told me the same thing. You're going to have to take it somewhere that has something called a flat lift. I've never heard of it before, but apparently the car sits too low to the ground that unless you've got some kind of go jacks, which most of these places don't, nobody could put the tires on and nobody could do the alignment for me. So after spending an entire morning driving around trying to find somewhere to do it, I ended at the Chevy dealership. Chevy dealership had no problem. You know, I took it in. It's literally right down the street from me. I dropped it off. They called me a couple hours later, said, boom, we got all your tires balanced. We got your new front tires installed. We got your alignment done. And the best part is it cost me $150 bucks. $150 for 2 tire installs, 4 tire balances. Sorry, I'm still freaking sick. And a 4-wheel alignment. I think that was a really good deal from the dealership, to be honest with you. Now, regarding my being a little ill, I've had a lot of people concerned that the ventilation in this house may be containing mold, or all the AC work we recently had done. I want to get to that real quick because I know that's not on most of y'all's minds, but I do want to point out we had the entire AC system gutted and replaced, all of it. The ventilation, everything. Every piece of the old unit got ripped out. They put all new plumbing in. They put all new ventilation in, wrapped it up with all that insulation stuff. Like, this whole thing was replaced top to bottom. AC, even the other day, it was 108 degrees out here. The AC in the house stayed at 74. So no complaints there. So I guess with that being said, that's pretty much all there is to the video. Not much more to really do on this other than, you know, some fluid changes, just like we got to do on the Prius over here. The RX-8, we replaced the strut. I had a lot of you asking, you know, how did that turn out? Let me tell you, the RX-8 drives absolutely great now. It really does. Before, it was scary when you'd hit a bump because it literally felt like it was trying to fishtail away from you. The RX-8 drives great. Now, I do need to get it back for an alignment. Even though I don't think we should have changed anything by replacing that strut, because we left all the alignment settings locked into place. We didn't adjust anything, but replacing a strut, you really should go back and get another alignment done. So I'm going to take it back and have them check the alignment on it, make sure it's good. If not, they'll reset it for me. The RX-8 it's a great car. It's still a whole lot of fun to drive, especially getting to rev it up to 9,000 RPM, but it's just sitting back there in the garage, and it's kind of sad. I need to move these cars and get that RX-8 out and actually take it out and drive it around a little bit. As for the future, what's to come, I'm hesitant to tell you, but there is an auction coming in the very near future, and somebody on YouTube dared me to buy a 2001 Mercedes S600. This is the 5.8 liter V12. This car is known to be a money pit. This car is known to be the car you really shouldn't buy. There's no reason anybody should buy this car. It's got something like 400 horsepower and probably close to 500 foot-pounds of torque. This is a massive car that was well into the 6 figures. But this one doesn't run. This is what you would call like an enhanced vehicle. The hood is stuck closed. There's no mileage. You don't know what the mileage is on it. You don't know if it runs. You don't know if it drives. You don't know if the motor is blown, the transmission is blown. You don't know. The hood is stuck closed, so you can't pop the hood. You can't check anything. You know nothing about it. I mean, you want to talk about a gamble. This is a gamble. And I bid on it several times, and I got it up to about $700 before I stopped bidding on it. Now it's up to $800. And it's a risk. It's a big risk. You know, it's one of those things, it's a charity auction. I'll tell you that. It's through charity. It does have the keys and everything, but it's one of those things where we could go up there and put a booster pack on it and we could drive it home. And boom, you know, you got a $4,000 or $5,000 car on your hands. It's a beautiful car. Interior, exterior, absolutely gorgeous. Or, alternatively, we could get up there with the booster pack and find out that the engine's blown, or the transmission's blown. And I'm sorry, that V12 it's not worth replacing. You know, that's one of those cars that, in my opinion, once something major blows up, it's time to let it go, part it out. I don't know if I'm going to bid on it anymore. Why don't you guys comment and just give me your ideas? What do you think? You know, is it worth? I mean, right now it's $800 plus auction fees, so you're easily talking about $1,500 right now for this car, without knowing if it's going to run or not. It seems like a bit of a gamble. I mean, it's a real gamble. So that's why I was hesitant to tell you guys about it. But I figure if any of you find it, you locate it or whatever, and you want to outbid me on it, which I'm already outbid anyway, but if you guys decide to snipe it out from under me, then hey, that's fine with me. No loss there. But what do you think? An 01 S600, 5.8 V12, We don't know anything about it for right around $1,500 right now. Why don't you tell me, if you were bidding on it, if you had the money, extra money sitting there, and you were going to bid on it, what would your top bid be? But take into consideration the Copart fees, the auction fees. So, you know, if your top bid for this car would be like $1,500 without knowing anything about it, just say $1,500 and I'll say that's with auction fees. Or if it's $2,000 or $2,500, that's going to be with all encompassing fees, what you would pay for it without knowing anything about it, if you would even buy it at all. Do you think that's something I should look at getting? Should I take that gamble? Or should we steer away from it and try to find something a little more practical? Again, I finally heard from the guy that's wanting to talk to me about the dealership. Again, I can't say very much about it. We haven't even started talking about it yet, but he did get back to me. I gave him my phone number. He texted me confirming that, you know, we're going to talk about this, see what, you know, if there's something that we could work out, something that would be mutually beneficial. So that's still kind of exciting because, you know, that could really change what I'm capable of doing. That would definitely make me feel like I don't have to worry about the state coming down on me, because that is still a real risk. That could be a game changer, and that could also provide a whole lot more opportunity for content for you guys on this channel as well. So very excited to talk to this gentleman and see what he's thinking, and put our heads together and see if we can come to some kind of an agreement. That's going to be it. I think I've talked your ears off enough. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I hope we cleared up just about everything that you guys had questions about, or any updates that needed to be addressed. I'm telling you though, before I go, this car is phenomenal. And I actually went to the Chevy dealer the other day, and I was looking at the new ones, you know, the 17 and 18 model. And it took everything in me to not do it. Like, I'm trying to cut back on my expenses and really get some things paid off. But man, some people think they're hideous. I think the new Corvettes are just beautiful. But when I looked at the specs, it's like the new Corvette Stingray. I'm talking about just a basic run-of-the-mill Stingray. Horsepower is only like 460, and this is 438. Is that really worth spending $50,000 for a car that's got 20, 25 more horsepower? No, not really. This car is a blast to drive. So I would say, if you're thinking about jumping into a C6, I say you should do it. You know, make sure you get something with lower miles, something that's obviously been taken care of. The paint on this car, whoever owned it before must have taken just really good care of it, because the paint is beautiful. There's one tiny scratch on the paint, and that's it. Like, the rest of the car is just in exceptional condition. The interior, exceptional condition. Everything on, no leaks, no smoke, no funny anything. Everything is just excellent in this car. I think I got a good deal on it. I probably paid a little more than I should have, at like $24,500, I think is what I paid for it. But overall, very happy with this car. This car is a blast to drive. So if you're on the fence, you're thinking about it, let me tell you, take one out for a spin, man, and don't hesitate to give it some gas. These things are insane, especially at around 35 miles an hour. Stomp that gas pedal. It will take you on a ride you're never going to forget. I'm out of here, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the merchandise store if you're interested in one of these shirts or something. They're all in the merch store. I've got them priced as cheap as I can to still make, I think, about $1.50 off of each one of them. So that's about as cheap as they're going to get. Be sure to like the content if you thought it was awesome. If you think the content sucks, don't hesitate to give it a thumbs down. Leave me a comment below. Tell me what you think about the content in general, about the Mustang versus the Corvette, about the S600 that I'm considering. I'll be sure to read, and I'll try to respond to as many as possible. I'm going to be going on vacation soon. Want to point that out. So videos for cars from the 6th to about the 16th. You're probably going to see different videos. Like, instead of cars, it's going to be like some beautiful ocean and things like that. You probably won't be interested, but if you are, stay tuned for that. I am going to get out of here. Stay safe out there, everybody. I will catch you soon in the next one.